Later, as most members of the pride lay underneath the blazing African sun, enjoying much-needed rest, Simba continued to pace back and forth along the cliff that looked out over the pride lands. The situation at the berm, combined with his run-in with Scar, made him too edgy to settle down. Even if he tried to sleep, he knew it would evade him. Better that he keep watch while the lionesses who would eventually stand guard rested. He heard the whisper of soft steps seconds before Nala appeared. "You're going to wear a stench into the earth," she said. Her words held more unease than humor, which told Simba much about how scared she was for him. He hated to worry her, but could also admit that it felt good to know she was concerned about his well-being. "I have a bad feeling about all of this," Simba told her. "I share your bad feeling," she said, as she came up alongside him. They walked in step, their bodies in tune as they had always been. Simba stopped pacing and turned to her. He hesitated for a moment, unsure if he should voice the thoughts that had plagued him so much lately. "If I were to leave the pride, would you come with me?" Nala's head reared back. "Leave the pride? Why would you even think of doing such a thing, Simba?" "Because I don't know my place here anymore," he said. "Your place is as our leader." "Is it?" Simba asked. "I'm not so sure of that." "Of course it is," Nala insisted. "It's not easy to step into the role of such an effective ruler." "Simba," her voice was strident, "your father was a brilliant ruler, but his time has passed. I know he has been stubborn, and he thinks you aren't mature enough to be at the helm of the pride, but it doesn't matter what Mufasa thinks. You are the sole and rightful heir to the throne. You are our leader." "That's just the thing, Nala. It does matter what my father thinks, because many of the lions still look up to him. They respect his word, and if the pride doesn't know if they should defer to me or to my father, then leader is a meaningless title." He shrugged. "It's also singular. There can only be one. If my father isn't willing to step down completely, then maybe I should just walk away." "What about what's best for the pride?" Nala asked. "I don't care what Mufasa or anyone else says. You're the one who is best to lead this pride into the future." Her unwavering belief in him was like a balm for Simba's battered ego. If every member of this pride eventually gave up on him, at least he would always have Nala's support. And just maybe a bit of her love as well. "Thank you for saying that," Simba said softly. "It means a lot. I know what you're capable of." Excuse me. She covered his paw with her own and caressed his neck with her head, gently rubbing back and forth in a soothing motion. Simba's eyes narrowed as he stared at a figure walking his way. "Kuume? What are you doing here? Why aren't you at your post?" The lioness looked at him in confusion. "Zazu flew by not too long ago and told me I no longer had to stand guard," she answered. Zazu, his father's majordomo, the red-billed hornbill, was supposed to work for Simba, but he never consulted with him on anything concerning the pride. Zazu remained loyal to Mufasa and refused to recognize anyone else as leader. This had to end. His father's interference would eventually jeopardize them all. With a determination he'd failed to muster until this point, Simba marched into the cave where his mother and father were resting. "Father," Simba said, "may I speak to you?" "Outside." "Simba, is everything okay?" Sarabi asked. "No, it isn't," he answered. Mufasa stood and with his brace tied to his right front leg, walked out of the cave. "Yes, Simba," he said, once they cleared the cave entrance. "Why did you send Zazu to Kuume? I gave her a specific order, and you gave her permission to defy it." "Watch your tone," Mufasa said, his tail swishing from side to side in a clear sign of growing aggression. "My tone should be the least of your concerns," Simba snarled. "Simba, stop this at once." He turned at his mother's horrified voice. "It must be said, Mother," Simba told her. He returned his attention to Mufasa. "You go behind my back, undermining my direct orders, undermining me. Everything you are doing is putting this pride in danger, and I refuse to live this way even one more day. You need to decide right here, right now, Father. Will I be allowed to lead this pride, or do I leave this pride? Mufasa bared his teeth. You would leave your pride? He asked. His growl was filled with anger and disappointment. You give me no choice, Simba answered, his heart thudding dully. I cannot do what is being asked of me if you continue to get in my way. I'm trying to help you, Simba. You haven't yet developed the instincts you need to lead the pride into the future. Just look at what you did today. You foolishly sent lionesses to patrol the borders based on some story from Nala. You didn't think to... The blow came from out of nowhere. Mufasa crumbled to the ground, his brace skidding across the dry soil as two full-grown lions pounced on him. Father! Simba charged at the lions. Attack! He yelled over his shoulder. Attack! Attack! He slammed into the two lions, knocking them off Mufasa's back and following them in a tumbling roll that took them close to the edge of the cliff. Simba scurried away from the edge, hustling to find his footing. He howled as sharp teeth plunged into his right flank. The debilitating pain shot through his entire body, causing his knees to buckle and rendering him useless. Simba tried to pull away, but the other lion just bit down harder. He swiped his unfurled paw across the face of one lion, then immediately sank his teeth into the other's neck. The second lion violently twisted his head, shaking Simba loose and sending him crashing into the hard ground. Bursts of white-hot light flashed behind his closed eyes as a sharp pain thundered in his head. Simba! He heard Nala's voice seconds before the lion with a grip on his side was forced off of him, taking a chunk of Simba's flesh. He looked up and recoiled at the horrifying chaos that had been unleashed. Kuume and Duma were locked in a fierce battle with two invaders. Another set of lionesses had Emperor and her mate Akiki up against one of the boulders, shielding the cave where the elder members of the pride dwelled. Simba caught on a strength deep within and pushed himself off the ground. He hurried to their aid. He could not allow the attackers to reach the others. They managed to bar the lions from entering the cave, but the battle was nowhere near over. An additional half-dozen lionesses, all bearing their razor-sharp teeth, rushed at them from all sides. How many were there? How long had they been waiting in the wings, poised to attack? And why hadn't he seen them coming? He'd known the Wasaki were getting closer. The previous few prides they targeted were in this area. He should have been better prepared. Being caught unaware had put the pride at a disadvantage. However, knowing pride rock like the back of their paws made up for it. Kuume used a short bush as a shield, rounding it and attacking two intruders from behind. Simba climbed up a large outcropping about 5 feet in the air and dove onto the lioness attacking Akiki. He swung his paw behind him and connected with the jaw of another lion. Out of nowhere, Simba felt a strong blow to the middle of his back. He slid several feet before landing against the wall, pebbles crumbling around him. He looked up and blinked twice before his vision cleared. The sight before him both robbed him of breath and made him see red. Scar. I knew it, Simba growled. You're the Wasaki, aren't you? I am the Wasaki, Scar snarled. I knew you weren't to be trusted, you traitor. And I knew you weren't fit to be a leader, Scar said. Get him. A trio of lionesses besieged Simba, sinking their sharp teeth and claws into his flesh, ripping his mane out by the roots. The pain was so great he nearly passed out. But at the sound of Nala's cry, Simba was instantly alert. He looked up to find her rushing toward him. A new lion twice her size advanced on her from her left side. Nala, look out! The lion caught her before she even saw it. Something broke in Simba at the sight of Nala being attacked with such disregard. A roar unlike any he'd ever released traveled from the depths of his being. He hefted himself up from the ground and charged at the lion, ripping him away from Nala and pummeling him to the ground. They tumbled along the dry earth, their limbs tangling up together. Duma joined in, and together she and Simba subdued his latest attacker. "Where is he?" Simba growled. He searched the area until his eyes landed on Scar. He looked a few yards ahead of where his uncle tripped, and spotted Mufasa still prone on the ground. "Father," Simba whispered. He took off for Scar, galloping toward him and pouncing. He landed on Scar's back just seconds before the traitor reached his father. Scar unleashed a blood-curdling roar as Simba clamped down on his neck with his teeth. He flung his uncle against the side of a boulder and pounced again, unrelenting in his fight. "I knew better than to trust you," Simba said. He stomped on Scar's head with both paws, relishing in his uncle's broken, feeble cry. "Simba, please," he heard his mother yell from somewhere to the right of him. "You'll kill him." "He deserves it," Simba said. "Don't, son," Mufasa said. "He brought these intruders to Pride Rock," Simba said, stomping on Scar's face. "He betrayed us yet again. He betrayed you, father. You forgave him once, but he doesn't deserve to be forgiven again." Simba pressed his paw against Scar's windpipe, grinding back and forth, ignoring his uncle's pleas for mercy. The fevered need to squelch the life out of Scar was so strong it scared Simba. He didn't realize he was capable of such hate and violence, but the desire to protect those he loved drove him to eliminate his threat to their well-being by any means necessary. "Simba," Nala said over his shoulder, "this is not who you are. Don't allow him to turn you into a monster." Her soft voice drew him out of the bloodlust daze he'd been in, but not enough to take his attention away from Scar. He knew how his uncle operated. He wouldn't give Scar the chance to get the upper hand. Yes, Scar choked out in a hoarse breath. "Show your uncle some mercy." "You deserve no mercy," Simba spit out. But as he pressed his paw against his uncle's throat, repulsion rushed through him. He'd been taught to kill only for sustenance and defense. His sense of honor would not allow him to take defenseless life, even Scar's. "Lucky for you," Simba continued, "I've inherited more from my father than I first thought." With a growl, he released his hold on Scar's neck. The older lion coughed up blood and spittle. Simba walked around him in a tight circle, his tail swishing back and forth, pitching dirt at Scar's crumbled body with each sway. "You will leave Pride Rock, and you will never, ever return," Simba said. Simba kept his eyes trained on Scar as he called out to the other lions and lionesses. "Nala, Akiki, Duma, Kuume, help me escort my uncle and his friends out of the Pride Lands." "Have some mercy," Scar begged. "Like it or not, we are cut from the same cloth." In less than a second, Simba was in front of him. He leaned forward until his nose was mere inches from Scar's, then released a terrifying roar. Scar's ragged mane billowed from the force of it. "I will never be like you. Get moving," Simba warned. Together, Simba and the others marched Scar along with the lions and lionesses who survived the battle from Pride Rock. They slowly made their way down the side of the large rock formation, past the watering hole, and to the very edge of the Pride Lands. "You are forever expelled from this pride in this land," Simba told his uncle. "I don't want to hear of the Wasaki terrorizing any other prides ever again. If I catch even a whiff of you or your friends, I will not be as charitable as I have been today. Leave and never return." This time, Simba didn't trust Scar enough to turn his back on him until he and the banished crew were but dots on the horizon. After some time had passed, he felt a gentle nudge against his neck. "Come, Simba," Nala said softly. It's time to return. Pride Rock needs its leader.